Hello and welcome to this episode of Focus On, where we put the spotlight on a company whose vision is to design and build a better world for people to live and work. SpaceFinish is an architectural firm that offers design and build, construction, and art installations for offices and residences as a service. With over 50,000 square meters of space designed and built for Fortune 100 companies and unicorn startups across Africa, founder and CEO of SpaceFinish, Remi Dada, shares his philosophy about workspaces and how brands can communicate their journey with their office space.
The interesting thing about the journey is it was never an intentional journey, right? It's more or less trying to solve a problem. And the issue that I experienced was just my own personal challenges. When I moved back to Nigeria, about 2012, I moved back to work for Google, right? And I just wanted to help Google develop their space to look like the other Google spaces across the world. And even more so importantly, trying to ensure that the Google space had that unique African flair, right? Because at that point in time, no one was really defining what does a futuristic Africa look like in a workspace, because no one was thinking about that. So going on that journey has led us down this path. And we found out that, look, this problem wasn't just unique for a Google, it was everyone. Anyone that wants to be productive across the continent needs the right environment, because your environment influences your behavior, right? So once we worked with our first clients, we had other clients like Andela, like, hey, what about us? And we've just gone down that journey, and we have so far been able to be part of the wavelength in a lot of tech companies' growth. And even organizations outside the tech sector have also been some of our clients.
Looking back 5 years down the line now, what would you say has been that moment that kept you motivated to say, you know what, I think I'm on the right path here?
So I think, number one, when you're going into anything that's a business, there's high risk. And you better be passionate about it, because it's full of ups and downs. And then when you're at the low points, if you truly have that passion, it keeps you going, because the work that you're doing, you normally have done it for free anyways, because it's passion driven. So that was my situation, because there've been so many challenging periods, right? But in knowing that there was a greater good behind the work that we're doing, in knowing that teams will come to us and say, man, after you did our space, it's transformed office culture. Our sales team is selling a lot better. We are hitting our internal targets. That is internal fuel and motivation for myself and my team.
Yeah, because now we're looking at the importance of the workspace here and how it can inspire creativity and innovation for businesses, like you rightly put out there. And I'm reading about your company, and I came across the NASDAQ Milestone quote, and I'd like to get to know a little bit more about that and what that entails.
Yeah, so as SpaceFinish has grown, we have grown from a service-based company, and we're going into more of a prop tech-based solution, right? And as we said to step into that space, we said to build products that was going to allow us to democratize access to amazing interior design, right? On that journey, there are different partners that you work with. There are people who build platforms to help accelerate growth. The NASDAQ was one of them. And what we were doing at that time was a product called Design Matchup that is now a product called Campus. And they more or less gave us access to so much information, mentors, access to funding that allowed us to continue to grow on that journey, right? And it's interesting because normally you would think that your international platforms would only be for international players, but the NASDAQ is thinking global. So they're saying, who are amazing entrepreneurs or founders doing things across the world? We want to know who you are. We want to help you. And that's how we got on the NASDAQ Milestone Makers.
Okay, because I'm looking 5 years down the line, I'm looking at your portfolio of projects, and I'd like you to speak to some of the projects that you think, yes, really caught your teeth and set you up on the pedestal here in Africa.
You see, we don't see it that way. You know, from the beginning, we always were trying to solve a unique problem for whoever the client was, right? Regardless of the size of the clients, we always try to put our best foot forward every time. And the quality of the work is what has driven our success, not necessarily the brands we've worked with. So we've worked with startups. We've worked with the guys like Andela's, guys like Flutter Waves. We've worked with the large guys like Facebook, Google, Twitter. We've done 2 international airports, right? But if those jobs were not good, you would not have asked me that question, right? So some of our smaller projects are amazing, and people like amazing job. And what even happens is the jobs that we do also elevates the clients. They help these clients find their brand voice, right? So it's not really about the portfolio, this how selective the portfolio is, but it's the body of work that speaks for itself.
But still on that body of work, let's look at some of the projects that you worked on that you were really excited to work on and really made you dig deep to execute.
So this is one of them, right? So we're sitting in the space for Union Bank, Space Next. This was an exciting project because of the scale and because of the audacity of the clients. Some clients tend to be safe. Other clients are like, let's push the boundaries. And we like clients that do that because we then are able to be very expressive with the solutions. But ultimately, what really drives us is a business problem. So behind every project that you see, there's a business problem that we need to solve. So for Space Next is, as a bank, they want to participate in the fintech innovation that's happening around them, right? As a bank, it's difficult to be as nimble as the startups. So how do you create a space that allows for co-creation? How do you create a space that pulls in the ecosystem, right, and allows you to interact with them? So taking a very business-minded approach in solving the problems is always the first mandate. The design is just a byproduct.
Well said there, but I'd like to get to the airport because I'm quite excited about that. I had my experience walking through that airport and I was kind of wild at the time because I slept off during that flight. I woke up and I'm thinking, okay, am I in Lagos here? Or did they drop me somewhere in Casablanca or somewhere else? I like to hear the backstory.
So the airport, so first, we are just super excited to have the opportunity to design not one, but two interior designs for the airports. And in Nigeria, how many airports are we going to be having, right? So it's a very, very limited opportunity. So we're happy that we got to do that. And for us, it was really about telling that story. If someone comes into Lagos or goes into Port Harcourt, what is that first experience? Look, Nigeria is open for business. We have a lot of foreign investors, a lot of different stakeholders coming into the country. And the airport is always that first defining experience they get. If it's a terrible experience, their mind is just shaped in a particular way. So we wanted to educate. So when you land in the airport, you get educated about the culture, right? All of your preconceived notions about what you thought Africa was, what you thought Nigeria was, what you thought Lagos was, begins to get refined. And we went with particular themes. So for example, in the Lagos airport, we went with you see the artworks on the wall. It tells a story, right? Or in Port Harcourt, we went with the floating fisherman. It tells a story, right? And we wanted to tell the stories that were less obvious because again, it's an educational exercise. So all the art installations there and all the design there was inspired by the narrative we wanted to tell. And then we also are very fortunate that because of our arts in residence program, our artist in residence program, we can get to work with a large pool of talented artists, and they also get a platform to showcase their work too.
Because I'm looking at your footprint now. You're in 4 countries now, and I'm trying to understand the idea on how you're looking to expand. Is it based on project-based or more or less more calculated in terms of you're looking at certain locations or countries?
Yeah, so we are more or less expanding on a project-based standpoint. So we like to work with clients who have a Pan-African footprint, right? So we work with you in Nigeria, but you have work, you want to expand, you want to keep a uniformity of your brand identity in Ghana, in Kenya, in South Africa, right? And so we've been able to grow with our clients. We've also had clients who have been looking for a solution, but just doesn't exist in their current markets. And people always look to Nigeria because Nigeria never carries last, right? So always find clients reaching out to us across the pond.
Yeah, but in terms of partnerships, how's that story been for SpaceFinish?
So from a partnership standpoint, a couple of interesting things that we've done. Number one that was quite exciting was working with Steelcase. So Steelcase, let's just say they are the Apple of office spaces, right? All the products that you use in office space to make you productive, to make you innovative, make you collaborative. But it's mostly still case behind it, right? And we've been admiring what they've been able to achieve from afar, right? Just the global size of the business. And so we were really excited when they reached out to us, right? They reached out to us and we collaborated on one project in particular, in just doing the research and trying to understand what does the future of work look like for Africa post-COVID, right? So the workspace has changed. We know that it's changed globally. We know it's changed in the West, but what is the African story? So that's happened with Steelcase. And there's some other universities that I can't mention right now that are doing case studies on us, and some of the, let's just say the top 1 or 2 universities globally. And we're also excited for when that comes out, because it's interesting to go on this journey, but it's more interesting to see your journey being permanently defined through a case study that business schools are going to use over and over again, right? So that's quite exciting too.
Yeah, quite interesting here. And on your future plans here, earlier you mentioned campus, and I'd like to wrap my head around, the context of how that is going to shape how your work is going to be down the line.
So a lot of times people say, Remi, we want to work with you guys, but SpaceFinish is just too expensive, right? I get that all the time. And the company vision is to design and build a better world for all humans to live and work in. But we found out that we were designing and building a better world for the most elite and guys with the biggest pockets to work in. So we're not being true to our vision. And we've been trying to figure out, okay, how do we scale this? How do we make this more accessible? How do we make amazing offices more accessible? That's one problem. The other one was speak to value. Even for the guys that work with us, because of the nature of how Nigeria is, things are not very predictable. It's very difficult for them to say, in a year and a half, I want to move to a new office space. So what happens, they say, hey, I want to move in 3 months. And we're like, it takes a lot of time to find your space, to negotiate your lease, to design the space, to build the space. You're looking at a longer period of, you're looking at 6 to 8, 9 to 12 months. So a lot of times, we find clients going through a lot of challenges. Clients paying rents in 2 places, clients out of offices for extended periods of time, clients having to pay a lot of money upfront, and guys who are trying to manage their cash flow that is very restrictive. So we said, let's create a product that solves for space to value. Meaning, I want an office space tomorrow. I don't want a co-working space. I want my private HQ. I want to move into tomorrow. That product doesn't exist right now. So that's what Campus is solving. Campus is addressing space value, making it more affordable, so you don't have to spend any money on the fit outs. You just pay, you just lease the space, power, internet, everything is ready to solve for. It's solving for quality. You get access to the SpaceFinish quality that used to just be for the Googles and Facebooks of the world. And also for productivity, there's a live and work component. How do you create something that allows your employees to live closer to you? So that's what Campus is. All right, now, so 5 years gone now. I'm trying to imagine what the next 5 years will look like for SpaceFinish and how you're trying to drive that. So as we cross over the hurdle of our 5th year, a lot of people say that 5th year is when businesses fail, right? So a lot of startups don't pass the 5th year. So we are let's just say knock on wood, that's not going to be our story. However, as we go into the future, we are thinking of how do we solve this problem for more people, right? We have over 500,000 companies across Africa who need this solution. And we cannot scale that with our current tailored service. So we need to figure out how do we bring this to more people. So the next 5 years from now, I would want to be in a place where we launched more products that are addressing this problem for productive workspaces for more businesses across Africa. And that's a wrap on this episode of Focus On. I now definitely see office spaces a bit differently. I'm Kenneth Ibomo. Thank you so much for watching.